What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel once again. We've been slacking a little bit on the uploads recently, but I want to make sure that when I put out content, it looks good for you guys. The graphics are nice, so I want to make sure that I put my time into it before I release a video. This video is going to be my NCP Season 6 Stratus, I believe, draft analysis. So I'm going to go through what my team is, and I am going to explain why I drafted what I did, my reasonings behind it, and hopefully you'll enjoy the video. But before we get into it, make sure that you are subscribed down below and leave a comment and like the video as well. So enjoy. Alright, so for this draft, I wanted to go a little more offensive with my approach. I can't exactly remember my starting pick, but I do remember that it was not first, but it was on the first half, but more so towards the middle. And so I wanted to, I was doing another draft at the same time, and I didn't want to draft the same thing, even though I had the chance to, which was Dragapult, I believe, was up when it was my turn. So let's get into the first pick. That is going to be Tapu Koko, and shoutouts to NCP for these amazing graphics as well. Most of what you see here is provided by them. The stats on the left, they are provided by me, and it's important I say that because I have commissions open right now for logo designs and art related stuff, so just want to put that out there. But the first pick is Koko, right? It's that nice 130 speed, fast electric type, has utility with its terrain that can be used with the rest of the squad, running electric seed or running boosted electric type attacks or not fall asleep and all that sort of stuff. So right off the bat, we do get that nice kind of support, but at the same time we establish that strong offense. So you can't really go wrong with Koko. You just have to make sure that be aware of the fact that your fairy offense is going to be a little bit reduced, as it doesn't get a physical fairy move. It pretty much only gets Dazzling Gleam, and so you're going to have to settle with that. But you still get that Dragon immunity, right? And you still get all that good stuff. Still gets resistances, and Dazzling Gleam still kind of hits hard, with the base 95 not being too bad. So that's Tapu Koko, the first pick. And for the second pick, I wanted to pair Tapu Koko with something that was strong and that covered for it in terms of speed, in terms of roll, in terms of typing, right? And so obviously I wanted Latios, the blue one, but that's just a pipe dream. You like, getting away with that would be murder. So we got Latios. It has the same speed as Latios, and it's not as offensive, as you can see, with the 130 being in special defense instead of a special attack, which is what you would prefer. So even though Tapu Koko does have the higher physical attack, they're both kind of like, in terms of role, they're kind of both special attackers, but Latios does provide that more utility with moves like defog and trick and such like that. So definitely not a bad one. I also believe it gets Wish, which is really nice with the base 80 HP, which if you invest in that, it can be really nice. So obviously Dragon and Psychic pair really well with Electric and Fairy, because Tapu Koko is weak to ground. Ability is Levitate, which makes Latios immune to ground, just like Latios. So I do get a lot of the package that Latios brings. It's just not the same offensive power that I wanted. But I'll just have to settle for that, right? But we also get like Latios is weak to Dragon, and Koko is immune to Dragon, and just all that good stuff, right? So, and you have the Tapu Koko being weak to Poison, and obviously Latios is a Psychic type, although it doesn't resist. It can hit them for super effective and kind of punch them like that. So yeah, and then we just got two defoggers off the bat, and they cover each other for speed, which is why I picked my next pick, Greninja, because Tapu Koko is 130 and Latios is 110. That leaves a gap in the middle that I want to cover. So I kind of want to have something for every 10 base speed. So it's like, if you have something in 130, you kind of want to ramp it down, and you want to have something in 120, 110, 100, 90, 80. So you kind of just like, so people can't comfortably run plus attack natures all the time versus you, and it kind of just like makes it nice for prepping situations against the opponent, for people wanting to run choice scarfs against you, and they have to consider that there aren't you don't want to leave too much of a speed gap anywhere in your team. Basically, that's the point. And if you do, make sure that it's lower down for those defensive mons that don't really care that they get outsped and stuff, right? Which is why I picked Greninja, which is like, it's really nice because I picked a Fairy, a Psychic, and now a Dark. So I kind of have those bases covered, but I also got started on my core with my fairy, my dragon, and my water. So I'm working on my fairy, dragon, steel core and my water, grass, fire core while doing all this, and I also get to cover for speed. And unlike the other two that get defog, Greninja gets spikes and toxic spikes, which is really utility focused. It's also a nice lead situation for me, so it's not just like Coco lead every time. Greninja is also a very fantastic lead. Obviously I can't run Protean or Battle Bond, as you can see, but it's still very effective just with Torrent, because it still hits as it still hits hard with dual stab like Dark Pulse and Hydro Pump, and then it also gets stuff like Gunk Shot for fairies, and yeah, just a fast U-turner and really solid overall. So I'm really happy with the Greninja pick, and yes, it's a special attacker, so I kind of have 3 special attackers right now, but I do establish that strong offense and that speed relatively early, which I'm really excited about. And next up, we kind of dial it back a little. We kind of kill the throttle on the offense and bring it back a little bit with some defense. Ferrothorn is really amazing. Obviously, it speaks for itself in many avenues. It's really physically tanky with a good ability that chips if it's hit by contact moves. I do also believe in the power of Anticipation Ferrothorn rising up, because it only has 2 weaknesses, and for mons that aren't of those typings, they usually a lot of the time run coverage for Ferrothorn, and you can kind of just call them out with the anticipation, and it becomes a mind game like, hey, I see you have this, I see you have a super effective move against me on this mon that I didn't expect, so we can kind of play around it like that. Or it's more so like, will you click it now that I know that you have it kind of situation. But it's also really solid Spadef. It's another spiker, so the spikes utility and responsibility doesn't rely on Greninja alone, and it's always kind of nice to just have between some offense, just because if you feel really overpowered, Ferrothorn can be there to stop the momentum, and it's always something you got to prep for, because it's just a really solid tank overall, and it's part of my and it completes the Fairy, Dragon, Steel core by being a Steel type, and it almost completes the Water, Grass, Fire core by being a Grass type. So we just miss a Fire for the full core with 5 Pokemon, which is really strong. So yeah, it's my defensive backbone for sure. Next up, we have my Mega Pokemon, and I was like, hey, I kind of want some physical offense. Do I really want to cap my speed at 130? Do I want to go with the flow? Do I want to go with the mainstream, and just cap my speed around 130? Because that's really common with having your fastest Pokemon on the team be stuff like Aerodactyl or Crobat or, Jolteon or stuff like that. So I didn't want to go that route. I kind of wanted to go a higher speed gap in 145, just to really put my foot down and say that this is an offensive team. Obviously, Beedrill gets Mega Beedrill. It gets tons of very good moves. Like it gets a Toxic Spikes as well, which kind of also takes pressure off of Greninja, but then it hits insanely hard on the physical side, which pairs well with my top 3 being especially offensive, although Coco can go physical and stuff like that. It's really nice just because it forces things to scarf against me to outspeed Mega Beedrill. Like, either you got to bring your priority, your Trick Room, or like you got to do something, right? You can't just sit there and let it have that 145 priority or like speed domination. So you kind of have to, you're forced on the backbone just by that in prep. And that forces stuff like, it becomes really hard when I scarf stuff like Latios and Coco. And then you also have to just scarf to outspeed Mega Beedrill, but also compete with the really fast scarfers that I'm able to have. And then you can also do stuff like, we also have a bunch of U-turn momentum going right now. We have a U-turn and Volt Switch top of Coco, and we have a U-turn Greninja, and we have, I believe we have Baton Pass Latios, and Trick Latios with Scarf is really good as well. And then we have a U-turn Beedrill, which is like adaptability boosted and really strong overall. So I can either go like a Sword Stand set and hit with like X Scissor and Poison Jab and stuff like that, or I can go like more of a U-turn set. I believe also Mega Beedrill gets Defog, which is, you don't want to use that 145, 150 attack as a defogger, but it's like a last case resort, right? And yeah. Next up, we have Galarian Zapdos. It's kind of crazy how I got this pick. I did not expect to get this pick at all, but when I saw it and it was my turn, I couldn't refuse to pick it. Mostly because I don't have these typings. I need more physical offense than aside from just like one Mega Beedrill. Like if you burn Mega Beedrill, like my team is just entirely specially offensive, right? So I kind of wanted to add some more onto that, and then I also want to cover some more speed. We're continuing the ramp down from 145 now with Mega Beedrill, 130 Tapu Koko, 122 Greninja, and then 110 Latios, and now we have the base 100 Galarian Zapdos, which makes it kind of just says on paper that, hey, if you have a base 100, you better run max speed because Galarian Zapdos is going to be there. And it's really strong. Like, of course, it doesn't get Roost, which like would have made it godlike, but it does get Thunderous Kick, which is super strong for like switch in play because it covers switches really well, like a knockoff, because they get minus defense on the swap in if it's not a ghost type or anything like that. So it just becomes really hard, and it's always something you got to prep for as well. Like, I just want to keep on adding stuff that people have to prep for, and that really excites me. And then it's just a very good Scarfer as well, for example, like if I don't want to run Scarf Koko or Latios. Also some more U-turns. We're borderline hyper offense with like really good momentum and firepower. So yeah, Galarian Zapdos just kind of adds on to that, and also has Defiant Play if people want to use Defog against me to get rid of hazards from Ferrothorn or Greninja or Mega Beedrill, or you call it, right? And then Zapdos comes in and just you can like Zapdos can just hard switch in on that and punish that really hard with Thunderous Kick or something like that. So really strong overall. Next up, we have Incineroar. This team is absolutely stacked to the brim with threats. And if it's not offensive threats, it's a defensive backbone. So Incineroar is not really necessarily a defensive backbone kind of pick, but it's middle ground. It's supposed to be that glue on the team that's supposed to bridge my offense to my defense. It's not entirely defensive, but it's not entirely offensive either. So which means that like it can't tank hits like Ferrothorn, and it can't, deal damage like a Mega Beedrill, but it can kind of just like be the middle ground and kind of just do both, but not as effectively. So Incineroar takes the concept of like doing one thing really good, and trading that for doing several things at a very high level, but not like as high of a level as you would do like a one thing. I have a lot of one-trick ponies on my team, you would say. Pokemon that run the same set every week, stuff like that, right? We can switch it up, obviously, but the role that they're going to perform is going to be the same. And so Incineroar kind of challenges that, and then provides another role. It's a really good pivot with Intimidate. Obviously, 95, 90, 90 is really good for defensive. It can go Assault Vest really well. It's a speed tier I don't have. It does stack Dark with Greninja, and funny enough, I wasn't aware of that at the time that I picked it. I was like, oh, I need a fire. Do I have a dark? I don't think so. And then I totally forgot Greninja was dark. So this team, but that's kind of how I think I still would have picked Incineroar anyway. It's just too good to pass up at that point for that price range. So it's just like, my team is just like, it's going to be 6 Pokemon that are strong, like no matter which 6 I bring almost, which is really exciting to see because I've never had like as strong of an offensive team like that before, and I'm really enjoying it and implementing that more in my drafts because I like to play offensive, and I have to give myself more tools to play offensive if that's what I want to do. So next up, we have Palossand, which is kind of like the pairing with Ferrothorn. Obviously, it's not especially defensive as I would like it to be, but with investment, it still becomes pretty tanky. It's another Stealth Rocker to get pressure off of Ferrothorn. It's a ghost type to help with normal types and fighting types, although I do have a lot of fighting type weakness. I do have that double dark, right? And so it's kind of just nice for that. And then it does also have water compaction. If water types become a problem, it can tank soft water type hits and become really defensive, or it can run like iron defense and become really defensive like that as well. So it's kind of there as a defensive backbone for a good price with typings I don't have. Next up, we have Kabutops, which is like, yes, it's more physical offense because we kind of dial it back with the special offense on Palossand. But we have Mega Beedrill, Galarian Zapdos, and Incineroar, and now Kabutops as the physical threats on the team. It's kind of a lower tier physical threat. Like Kabutops can hit crazy hard after like an attack boost of some sort, or just like if you want to choice band it or stuff like that. It's another rocker, but it's also a spinner, so I don't only have to rely on defog if I face stuff like Defiant. Rapid Spin can be really nice, and Kabutops also does stack water with Greninja, which I am aware of, but at this point I'm just like using lower tiers for utility and filling roles I don't have, so that my high tiers can run more moves like they want to. Like Latios wants to run Draco Meteor, Coco wants to run Thunderbolt or and Dazzling Gleam for that fairy offense, right? You don't want to go like Thunderbolt, U-turn, Roost, Defog, and then I don't have my fairy offense. For example, I could bring Kabutops on the side and be like that Rapid Spinner and stuff. So yeah, do have a little bit of a ground weakness, but then again, we do have Latios and we do have Galarian Zapdos, which are immune, so I'm kind of happy for that. And Ferrothorn is a grass type. It does take neutral, but it's still incredibly tanky, and most ground types are physical, which Palossand can help with against as well. And then we also have an Intimidate Incineroar. So my team is just packed with tools, and I have kind of just accepted the fact that my team does stack weakness a lot. Like as you will see, I already have double water, I already have double dark, stuff like that. So I'm stacking typings, but I'm trading that away, that synergy away for tools in my tool case for the season that I want to use to overpower my opponent. And the Swift Swim set is also more speed control as well, because it doubles the speed of 80, which is like, yeah, it becomes incredibly tanky. No, not tanky, speedy. So that's something to watch out for as well. Next up, we have Xatu. Xatu is kind of like that pick. So here we have, we're stacking Psychic with this one, with Latios, and we're getting Ice Weakness and stuff like that with Galarian, Zapdos, and Latios as well, which I am aware of. And Ferrothorn is a Steel type that doesn't resist Ice, so I'm aware of that. But that's where stuff like Incineroar comes in as well, and Kabutops is also that Ice Resist with Greninja, although they are offensive. Xatu is kind of like that anti-BS, to keep it PG. It's anti-BS. If you watch anime and all that stuff, you have like all these crazy powers. I'll always use this analogy. You have these crazy powers, like people, like you have One Piece, you have Devil Fruits, in Naruto you have like all this like ninjutsu stuff, and Xatu kind of just says nope to all of that, and boils the game down to a very like old-timey Oonga Boonga kind of game, where it's like you can't throw rocks at me, you can't toxic me, you can't do all this stuff because of magic bounce, right? And so it keeps the game very fair and honest, as long as Xatu is there in prep, and as long as it's there in the back on the battlefield. It boils it down to be like, hey, yeah, it's boosting moves and it's damaging moves all the way, and it's healing moves, baby, because statuses and hazards and all that stuff goes out the window and boils the game down, which is really nice to have in an offensive team, because I feel like that's what counters an offensive team. It's either you get out offensed, which is really hard to do versus this team, or you get out defensed, which is really easy to do versus this team if Xatu is not there. So that's kind of what Xatu helps with. It's that magic bounce. It's another defogger if I kind of just want to, if I don't want defog on Coco, if I don't want defog on Latios, now I can take that away and put defog on Xatu instead, which is just fantastic. It also gets good coverage moves and like Giga Drain, Heat Wave, and Air Slash, and then Psychic moves as well. It's a good Calm Mind user. It gets Roost for healing itself. It also gets U-turn for like pivoting as well, with like everything else that gets pivoting moves to keep my momentum safe, even though it's a more of a defensive pick. And then it also helps with speed ramping because it's someone in the 90s. So now we have 145, 130, 122, 110, and then we have 100, and then it goes down to Xatu 95, Kabutops 80. So we're missing a bridge between 80 and 60 in the 70s, but again, that's kind of goes back to what I told you earlier, with like, if you're going to have a speed gap, have it somewhere that's not like above the hundreds, because that's, you can choice craft to really abuse that. Whilst if it's lower with more picks that are usually defensive or for pivoting actions, then it doesn't really matter as much. Of course it matters, but it can be abused as hard. So we kind of have everything in pairings right now. We have the Galarian Zapdos, Mega Beedrill as like the physical offense pair. We have Xatu and Incineroar as kind of like the pivoting pair, and then we have Ferrothorn, Palossand as the backbone. Kabutops is kind of like by Kabutops Greninja, I guess, or kind of like the water squad. And yeah, and then we kind of have like Tapu Koko Latios as like the speedy special offense kind of thing. So I like where this is going. And then with my last pick, I could either choose to bridge the gap at 70 or do what I did here, which you will see what it is. Alolan Raichu, it does stack speed with Latios, and yes, I would have preferred something in the 70s, but it's really hard to get at this price range with using all your points. I used all my remaining points for this, and it's just another tool case for speed control with Surfer, because now I got Surfer, Swift Swim. I believe Mega Beedrill gets Agility, which is like crazy. But yes, and still high natural speeds and all that stuff, and we can still run Electric Seed on a lot of the Mons and stuff. But it's just something to further synergize the team. Yes, I do stack Psychics. I have triple Psychic on my team now, and I do have double Electric. But I do think my team doesn't care too much about weakness. It's about overpowering. So it's a kill or be killed world with this team, and I'm prepared to go in to face my season with that. And so this gets both the speed from the terrain, electric boosted moves, and it can run Rising Voltage, which doubles in terrain, and all that fancy schmancy stuff. It's a really good Nasty Plot user, and just overall either like choice specs or nasty, choice specs, Nasty Plot, or just like Life Orb or stuff like that. So it's just more offense on the special side to cover that I've gone, some physical to make up for the special to begin with, to kind of make a full circle, and to kind of abuse my terrain further. And that's going to be my team for the NCP Season 6 Stratus. I do believe it's Season 6, believe me. I'm very sorry if I get that wrong. But that's going to be it for this time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you'll cheer me on. I am the coach. I'm Soulblaze, the coach of the Oslo City Dragon Dancers, and I hope to see you in the chats of NCP. And I'm really happy that I got this chance. I want to thank people who got me into the season for this opportunity, and also I am happy if I can be part of future seasons as well, and I'm really glad that people have kind of accepted me to be in here. I'm really happy to meet new people and all that stuff. So this has been a fantastic opportunity for me, and I'm so looking forward to a fantastic season. So thank you guys. Thank you to the NCP staff. Thank you to everyone who's cheering on the teams and spectating and all that stuff. And thank you guys for watching the video. This has been your boy Soulbless, and as always, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will most likely will be the NCP Week 1. So, peace.